The millionaire watches in horror as his employee dares all to rescue his daughter from flames. Victor Ashcroft stood frozen, an icy lump forming in his throat as the night air filled with the acrid scent of smoke. Around him, the clanging of fire alarms mingled with frantic screams, creating a horrifying symphony that echoed through the grand hall he had spent years perfecting. The gala, once a symbol of his success and ambition, now threatened to turn into a nightmarish tragedy. Flames licked hungrily at the ornate decorations, and his heart raced as he realized with gut-wrenching fear that Elise, his daughter, was still inside. "Dad, please," Elise's voice rang in his ears, a memory from their last fight echoing painfully. He could still see her eyes, once bright and trusting, now filled with hurt and betrayal. She had distanced herself from him, unable to reconcile his relentless drive for wealth with anything resembling family. Suddenly, a harrowing crack split the air, and a wave of heat hit him like a wall. Mia. He barely registered her name, but she was already moving, a streak of determination amidst chaos. Mia, his loyal assistant, stood in stark contrast to the chaos. While sweat glistened on her brow, her eyes shone with fierce resolution, sparking a fire of her own. If only she knew how much he cared for her, but now wasn't the time for such thoughts. His daughter was in danger. "Stay here," he shouted, but she shook her head. A fierce glint in her eyes, she dashed toward the building, her instincts taking over. The flames roared behind her, their ferocity hinting at something more sinister than a simple accident. Victor's mind raced. Had there been talk of a rival? Victor had built many enemies with his cutthroat mergers and acquisitions. A deliberate attack? The thought pierced him deeper than the flames licking at the eaves. "Hang on, Elise." Mia's voice cut through the smoke as she disappeared into the collapsing structure. Victor's heart hammered against his ribs, not just for Elise, but for Mia too. Her loyalty was unyielding, yet it hurt to know that she had feelings for him that he had never acknowledged. With every passing second, a new wave of regret washed over him, tightening his chest. Around them, the crowd was in a frenzy, their faces pale and shocked. Some pointed and gasped. Others grabbed their phones, recording horrors instead of helping. Victor's heart sank lower. What have he done to lead his family to this moment? He could feel the judgment, the whispers trailing behind him like a dark shroud. Betrayal, guilt, ambition, all collided within him, growing heavier as Mia risked everything to save his daughter. Would they find Elise in time? Would Mia escape the flames? Yet, amid the rising smoke, there was an unexpected sound. A voice, soft yet firm, cutting through the chaos. "Victor, it was me." A familiar figure emerged from the shadows, revealing a face he thought he could trust. The twists of fate lay thick in the air, and as the fire raged on, the ties of family and loyalty began to unravel. What secrets lay in the embers? Was this all part of a larger scheme? With panic clawing at him, Victor knew they had to confront the truth, and fast. "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up, and since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact." Victor's heart sank as he focused on the familiar face emerging from the shadows. It was James, his older brother. He hadn't seen him in years, not since their family had torn apart over business disputes. James's expression was grim, a stark contrast to the chaos around them. "Victor," he said, his voice steady but strained. "You need to listen. There's no time." "What do you mean?" Victor's shock barely registered. The flames twisted and danced, reflecting his inner turmoil. "Why are you here?" "No time for that." James glanced at the fire, then back at him. "I know who's behind this." Victor's stomach churned. What are you talking about? Your enemies. They've escalated. James's eyes darted toward the building. They want you ruined. This was meant to look like an accident, but it's not. Someone set this fire to draw you out, to destroy everything you've built. A cough escaped Victor, choking him on the acrid smoke filling the air. He had always brushed off his brother's warnings, dismissing them as paranoia born from endless corporate battles. But now, with his daughter's life hanging in the balance, he couldn't dismiss it anymore. Mia went in. He gasped, his mind racing. What if they get her too? What have I done to deserve this? Focus, Victor, James snapped, urgency cutting through their family's old wounds. The truth is closer than you think. You need to, but before he could finish, a loud crack sounded from the building, and a piece of the ceiling collapsed. Though it was far, the impact resonated in Victor's chest, igniting his fear anew. Elise, he screamed, helplessness consuming him. James seized his arm, a fierce grip that sent shockwaves through him. We can't help her from here. We need to lure them out. They're waiting. Your company, it's deeper than you know. You have to think of everything you might have overlooked. What? What did I miss? Panic clawed at Victor. His mind raced back through years of deals, forgotten offenses, fractures in his family. Each one was like a burning ember, leading to chaos. Then James's face twisted in anguish, igniting a heartbreaking flash of recognition within Victor. You have to stop being so focused on money. Our family, they've suffered because of your ambition. This is a reckoning. Anger flared within Victor, but it was quickly extinguished by the terrifying thought of losing Elise. Stop it. This isn't about me. It's about saving my daughter. She's in there. And you're talking about the past. We need to act. But James shook his head, eyes glimmering with tears. Victor, it's not just Elise. It's your legacy. Your daughter is tied to this. If she doesn't get out, the truth will die with you both. And the deeper implications are. Suddenly an explosion rocked the air, followed by bright flames shooting toward the sky. Screams filled the night, a chorus of frantic calls for help. Victor's heart dropped as he saw shadows moving amidst the flames, a figure darting through the chaos. Mia, he shouted, voice hoarse. But then, something even stranger happened. The figure emerged from the smoke, not completely alone. Victor squinted, recognition dawning. It was Elise, but she wasn't alone. She was holding something. Something glowing. Something that looked mechanical. Mia, we have to go, Elise called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. As they neared the exit, Elise paused, her back towards Victor. And you need to hear this, Dad. Everything you think you know is about to change. His pulse raced as he took a step forward. The heat hit him like a wall. Something was off. What had she found? Wait, he called as panic flooded his mind. What do you mean? What I've discovered changes everything. Her gaze locked with his. She clutched the device tightly. It pulsed with a strange energy, illuminating her face in an eerie glow. But before she could elaborate, another explosion sent shockwaves through the hall. Victor stumbled, fear gripping him. The air filled with thick smoke again, swallowing Elise and Mia back into the burning structure. No, Victor's scream pierced the night, but the echoes of truth hung heavy in the air. What had Elise discovered? What secrets were buried within? The flames? And in the face of this terrifying revelation, would they survive long enough to find out? Victor's heart thundered in his chest as he stumbled forward, flames crackling ominously around him. Elise, Mia, he shouted, desperation twisting his insides. The pulsating heat gripped him like a vice, yet he pushed through the choking smoke, driven by one singular thought. He couldn't lose them. But the world around him shifted. The darkness morphed into chaos. Shadows swirled menacingly as the flames danced, and he felt the ground tremble beneath him. Suddenly, the glowing device Elise clutched caught his eye as the air crackled with energy. It flickered, taking on a strange hue that lit up the crumbling walls. "Dad!" Elise shouted from the doorway, panic overloading her voice. "We have to hurry." But then it happened. A deep rumble echoed through the hall, louder than the screams and crackling flames. Time seemed to freeze. An eerie silence fell, pierced only by the reverberation that grew louder, shaking Victor to his core. The ground beneath his feet splintered. A massive figure emerged from the smoke, towering and monstrous. It crashed through the flames as if unharmed, and panic surged through Victor's veins. "What the hell?" he gasped, stumbling back. The figure took shape. With every detail, the horrifying truth unfolded. It was a person, or something that looked like one. A face eerily familiar, marked by scars, reflecting Victor's own features. It was a twisted version of himself, grotesque and distorted, eyes burning with rage. "Victor Ashcroft," the doppelganger sneered, voice low and mocking. "You've ignored your legacy for far too long." Victor's breath caught in his throat. "What is this?" he managed, shock tearing through him. "What do you want?" "What do I want?" The figure laughed, a hollow sound that echoed like broken glass. "I want what you've taken. Everything you hold dear will pay for your sins." The blaze flickered and dimmed. All around, the crowd gasped, horror mingling with disbelief. He could feel their eyes on him, whispers spreading like wildfire. Who was this monstrosity? "Victor!" James shouted, stepping forward, his own terror palpable. "Get back. You don't understand what you're dealing with." "Understand? I know exactly what I'm dealing with," the creature spat. "I'm the thing you ignore, the darkness you feed. Today, everything you've built will crumble." Before Victor could process the implications, Elise screamed, clutching the device tighter. "Dad, we can't stay here. It's not just a fire. It's a trap." Panic surged as she met Victor's eyes, her expression desperate. What did she know that he didn't? "What's happening, Elise?" But the figure only laughed again, a chilling sound that reverberated deep within him. "You'll see. The truth is a double-edged sword, or should I say an unquenchable fire." Suddenly, the device in Elise's hands flared bright, drawing the sinister thing's attention. A pulse rippled through the crowd. The flames flickered even as the very air tightened around them. "What have you done?" the doppelganger bellowed. "You cannot control it!" And with a blinding flash, the room erupted into blazes more intense than before, forcing Victor backward. Bodies scattered, chaos unfurling like a dark wave as the heat intensified again. "No!" he roared, caught between the inferno and the haunting figure of his twisted self. "Elise! Mia!" But before the darkness could swallow him whole, another explosion rocked the building. The world tilted, and Victor fell to his knees, everything he knew crumbling away. What was happening to his family, his empire? As smoke curled around him, a truth he never anticipated swirled in his mind. Was it not only the fire threatening to consume them? What if the real threat rested within? What if the battle for his legacy had just begun? Victor's heart pounded in his chest as the flames roared around him. "Elise, Mia!" The air was thick with smoke, and every breath felt like inhaling fire. The dreadful shape of his doppelganger loomed nearby, shadows twisting in its wake. Victor's desperation surged as Elise's voice rang through the chaos. "Dad, we need to hurry." But the mocking laughter of the twisted figure echoed in his ears, drowning out her words. "You think you can save her? Time's running out." "No!" Victor shouted, but the words slipped away. The fear clawed at him, and he felt himself falter, caught between his fears and his family. Suddenly, another explosion rocked the building, sending debris cascading down like a rain of fire. "Duck!" James shouted, yanking Victor to the side just in time. They hit the ground, the heat searing hot. "We can't stay here, Elise is right." Victor struggled to his feet, scanning the chaos. Where were they? He had to find them. "I can't leave without them." "You can't save them if you're dead." James's voice was sharp, cutting through panic. "We have to figure out the truth." And then, just like that, a blinding light engulfed the room. It radiated from the device Elise held, a glowing orb pulsating with energy. The figure, his twisted self, shrieked in rage as the orb's glow echoed across the flames. "You can't control it," it screamed, scrambling backward, fear replacing the arrogance in its eyes. Victor watched in awe as the light expanded, swallowing the flames, the darkness around him flaring bright. But before he could register what was happening, a surge of energy pulsed from the orb, enveloping him. His mind spiraled into a whirlpool of memories, flashes of moments long forgotten. Meeting Elise for the first time, laughter echoing at a family picnic, the crushing weight of business deals that had torn his family apart. And in those flashes, clarity emerged. Everything his brother James had warned him about, the choices, the greed, the loss. The realization hit him harder than any explosion. This was not just a fire. It was a reckoning. "What have I done?" he gasped. A shudder ran through the ground, and Victor looked up to see the shimmering light fracture. The image of his doppelganger flickered like a dying flame. "This is just the beginning, Victor," it sneered, but the mockery faltered, replaced by panic. "You can't escape your fate." Then came the twist. The light burst like a star, merging the shadows with brilliant color. Victor inhaled, drawing in smoke and light. Floating in the air was an image of his daughter, smiling, younger, before everything had gone wrong. "Dad," she exclaimed, reaching out as though she could pull him from the embers. "What is happening?" he shouted, confusion mixing with desperation. James's face twisted in horror as the ground beneath them fractured. "We're losing control." Then in a moment that froze time, the glowing orb pulsed wildly, releasing countless figures from the surrounding fires. Specters emerged, echoes of decisions Victor had made throughout his life. Familiar faces of people who had been hurt, abandoned, and ignored. Some he had wronged, others he had forgotten. "Mom, David, Anna," Victor's voice trembled, recognition striking him like a whip. His past wrapped around him like a noose. Each ghostly figure moved toward him, their eyes filled with pain and resentment. Victor staggered back, panic rising. What is this? What's happening?" The echoes of his past blurred together. "You thought wealth would protect you," one voice called, sharp and clear. "You were wrong." Then the twisted figure laughed once more, its face shifting back to the grotesque reflection of Victor. "Face your legacy, Victor. You can't run from what you've become." And that's when it clicked. The orb wasn't just a device. It was a gateway to his very soul, a reflection of everything he had buried deep inside. "Dad, please, we have to go." Elise's voice cut through his tangled emotions, filled with urgency. But as he turned to her, reality hit him like a punch. "Elise, what did you find?" Before she could respond, the ground shook violently, fire exploding around them as the truth hung in the air, waiting to be uncovered. What secrets were entwined within their family? What had he done to deserve this reckoning? Victor's heart raced, trapped between salvation and despair. The fiery shadows loomed larger and he screamed into the chaos. "What do I need to do?" But the flames roared back, and the ghostly figures swirled closer, their voices merging into a cacophony. The truth was on the edge of revelation, and as Victor stood at the crossroads, he felt everything he thought he knew slip away. What would it take to save his family from the legacy he had created? Would they survive to confront the truth? Or would they all be consumed by the very fires he had stoked? Victor's heart thundered in his chest as the flames roared around him. Elise Mia! The air was thick with smoke, and every breath felt like inhaling fire. The dreadful shape of his doppelganger loomed nearby, shadows twisting in its wake. Victor's desperation surged as Elise's voice rang through the chaos. "Dad, we need to hurry." But the mocking laughter of the twisted figure echoed in his ears, drowning out her words. "You think you can save her? Time's running out." "No," Victor shouted, but the words slipped away. The fear clawed at him, and he felt himself falter, caught between his fears and his family. Suddenly, another explosion rocked the building. sending debris chaos. Where were they? He had to find them. I can't leave without them. You can't save them if you're dead. James's voice was sharp, cutting through panic. We have to figure out the truth. And then, just like that, a blinding light engulfed the room. It radiated from the device Elise held, a glowing orb pulsating with energy. The figure, his twisted self, shrieked in rage as the orb's glow echoed across the flames. No, you can't control it, it screamed, scrambling backward. Fear replacing the arrogance in its eyes. Victor watched in awe as the light expanded, swallowing the flames, the darkness around him flaring bright. But before he could register what was happening, a surge of energy pulsed from the orb, enveloping him. His mind spiraled into a whirlpool of memories, flashes of moments long forgotten, meeting Elise for the first time, laughter echoing at a family picnic, the crushing weight of business deals that had torn his family apart. And in those flashes, clarity emerged. Everything his brother James had warned him about, the choices, the greed, the loss. The realization hit him harder than any explosion. This was not just a fire. It was a reckoning. He gasped. A shudder ran through the ground, and Victor looked up to see the shimmering, light fracture. The image of his doppelganger flickered like a dying flame. This is just the beginning, Victor. It sneered, but the mockery faltered, replaced by panic. You can't escape your fate. Then came the twist. The light erupted into a kaleidoscope of color, illuminating everything as it exploded around them. Victor felt the heat beating down but didn't care because suddenly the screams of agony morphed into laughter. Laughter? He turned in disbelief as the glowing figures took on a new form. Friends, family, all the people he thought lost to him. Each one looked at him with joy, not anger. The air around him transformed. Surprise! Victor! They chorused. We're here to celebrate. What? Victor blinked, confusion flooding him as the flames faded into a backdrop for a lavish party. Tables filled with decadent food, laughter ringing clear. He found himself standing at the center, wearing a tuxedo, a glass in hand. What is happening? He stammered, eyes darting. Surprise, shouted Elise, older now, a bright smile on her face. All those years you were buried in work. We wanted to bring you back. Mom planned it all. We missed you. He shook his head, taking a step back. It can't be real. Of course it is. A familiar voice chimed in, his mother's, warm and embracing. We wanted to show you the joy you were missing. Joy? The word felt foreign. What about the fire? The people? James? Mia? He turned to them, searching their eyes for truth, but they glowed with love. I'm fine, exclaimed Mia, smiling. We're all fine. You just had to let go of the past. You were trapped in your own making. Trapped? Everything Victor had thought he understood twisted in a knot within him. All those people. He struggled, panic rising. What does this mean? But as he stared deep into Elise's eyes, the world around him flickered. Nothing was as it seemed. The smiles faded into frowns, shadows creeping back, whispers clawing back at him. Victor, you need to wake up, James warned, his smile shattering. The fire is real. You can't ignore your choices. It's not over yet. Everything collapsed as the joyful scene crackled like dry leaves. The figures warped into dark shapes, the joy twisting into disdain. You think you can run? The creature whispered, reforming in the shadows. Face your legacy, Victor. It's just begun, Victor screamed, longing for the familiar warmth of family. But reality churned around him, tearing apart the tender illusion, twisting it with shadows and lies. Truth's agenda is relentless, the figure bellowed. Its voice morphed into a monstrous echo. And just as the flames roared back into life, Victor felt the grip of fate tighten, a dark noose closing in on him. What had he unleashed? What secrets lay hidden within this nightmare? As darkness enveloped him once more, he could only wonder, who was the real enemy? And would he ever truly escape? The flames roared as Victor stumbled back, the figure of his doppelganger, flickering like a nightmare, refusing to fade. No, you won't take them from me, he shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. The fire crackled violently, surrounding them like a beast ready to pounce. The specters shifted, their faces morphing into a chaotic swirl of anger and pain. The shadows burdened him, memories clawing at his sanity. "This isn't real," Victor cried, shaking his head furiously. "You're just a figment." James grabbed his arm tightly, pulling him closer. "Victor, you have to choose. They're not trapped in a figure. But they're watching you right now. What will you do?" His brother's voice steadied him, grounding him amid the chaos. But before Victor could respond, a thunderous explosion erupted, sending debris raining down like hellfire. Screams echoed as people scattered, panic overtaking the previous mirage of joy. He felt the ground tremble beneath him. Was it fear taking form? Or was something else awakening? "Get out!" Elise's voice rang clear over the din. She was by the doorway, waving frantically, eyes wide with terror. But behind her, the glowing device flickered, pulsing dangerously. The laughter of the twisted figure thundered in the air, drowning out everything else. "You think you can escape?" It sneered, the flames reflecting its malicious glee. Suddenly, with a deep rumble, the very ground twisted and buckled, revealing a dark chasm below. Something was wrong, so wrong. Then the glowing orb in Elise's hands exploded with light, blinding him. Victor shielded his eyes, feeling the surge of heat ripple through him. "Elise," he yelled, voice hoarse, "what's happening?" But all he could heard was a heart-wrenching scream. The room shuddered violently as Elise was pulled backward into the darkness, the device sucking her in like a black hole. "No!" The word tore from Victor's throat, raw and urgent. "Elise!" Then everything shifted. The laughter of the specter twisted into something else, an anguished wail, confusion clouding the air. Shadows twisted and contorted, receding to reveal a figure standing where Elise had been. Victor's breath caught in his throat. It wasn't Elise. It was a version of her, but broken. "What?" he gasped. The warm familiarity drained from his chest. The girl before him wore ragged clothes, hair matted, eyes sunken and hollow. "Who are you?" The figure turned, face twisted in pain. "You left me behind." "Victor, your greed, your ambition. You thought I was gone, but I never was. Who are you?" Panic surged through him, and Victor took a step back. The heat of the flames felt distant now, overshadowed by a new dread. "I'm the daughter you forsook. In your quest for success, I became a ghost in your life." Her voice crackled with desperation, each word cutting deeper. "No, no." Victor's mind raced as he caught James's horrified expression, the realization dawning. "Elise," he breathed. "This isn't possible." The creature, this shadow of his daughter, cackled with grief and anger. "You thought you could leave it all behind? You thought it'd just disappear? No, Elise she's here. I've been looking for her." He was shouting now. But doubts began to creep in. As the hollow figure advanced, Victor felt his heart race, pity and horror intertwining. "Enough of this. You're not her," he screamed, desperation clawing. But then it spoke again, its voice reverberating in the thick smoke, painful and true. "I'm what you made me. Everything you ignored became me. Your failures gave me life." The flames roared louder than ever, and Victor felt the ground slip beneath him. "No, no," he screamed, mind racing. The shadows felt suffocating, closing in like a vice. With a final howl, the entire structure groaned, as if ready to collapse. Victor's heart raced. Was it his guilt that made this happen? Or was it some dark prophecy coming true? Suddenly, the twisted figure lunged forward, and Victor braced himself, but as it leapt, it dissolved into black smoke, mingling with the flames. The specters roared in fury, the shadows swirling violently. "Victor, don't trust it," James yelled, stepping closer, trying to reach him through the madness. "Whatever you do," but he never finished. The walls shook, and everything exploded in a blinding light. Victor felt himself pulled backward, the world slipped away, collapsing like a house of cards. Darkness wrapped around him like a shroud as he felt the last flicker of hope vanish, swallowed by rage, guilt, and the visceral need to confront the truth. What was real? Who was lost? And as he fell into blackness, heart pounding with dread, Victor realized the reckoning had just begun. Victor felt the churning darkness envelop him, pulling him deeper into an abyss of confusion and fear. Memories swirled like smoke, sharp and painful. But then, a crack, a break in the shadows. The light surged, blinding him momentarily. Suddenly, he was thrown into clarity. He blinked, the harsh brightness fading, revealing the fire-damaged hall. But it was different now. Instead of chaos, there was a surreal calm. The flames flickered like a dying ember, and standing amidst the wreckage was Elise. But something felt off. The air thickened with tension, and every instinct screamed for him to run. "Elise," he called, taking a hesitant step forward. Her eyes locked onto his, but there was a depth there he had never seen, cold, calculating. "Is it really you?" "Of course, it's me, Dad," she replied, but her tone was flat, devoid of the warmth he knew. "Didn't you get the message?" "The message?" Confusion gripped him tighter. "What message?" Suddenly, James stepped between them, eyes wide with disbelief. "Victor, stay back," he shouted, the urgency slicing through the haze. "There's something wrong." But before he could finish, the world around them twisted again. The flickering flames ignited with new ferocity. Victor turned his head back to Elise, but an icy smile spread across her face. That haunting, hollow smile. "Who do you think you're protecting, Victor?" Her voice dripped with venom. "It's time you learn the truth." "Stop." He stepped back, panic rising in his chest. "What do you mean?" Elise tilted her head, chuckling darkly. "You've been so blinded by your ambition. You think this is all about you, about family? It's about power, Dad." Every word hit him like a hammer. "What are you talking about?" He tried to push through the quilt of confusion. "This is nonsense." But Elise's expression hardened. "You once told me that the world doesn't care about your morals, only your influence. You taught me that success demands sacrifices." James shouted again, his voice raw. "Victor, don't believe her. This isn't Elise. It can't be." Elise's laughter echoed, chilling Victor to his core. "You still cling to that idea, James? Pathetic." And then it happened. A blinding pulse erupted from the device in Elise's hands. A whirlwind of colors and energy soared toward the towering flames, illuminating everything. Victor squinted, fear creeping deep into his gut. "What did you do?" he cried, his voice trembling. She smirked, lifting the device higher. "I did what you refused to do, Dad. I took control. I'm tired of being the forgotten daughter. You'll see, this is only the beginning." Then, in a flash, the glowing orb exploded, sending shockwaves through the hall. The flames roared to life, taking on unnatural shapes that twisted into monstrous figures, all staring back at him with familiar eyes. Friends, family, and enemies, all reflected his past mistakes. Next to him, James shouted, "Victor, this is your legacy. Your actions gave life to her anger." A deafening roar broke free from the swirling chaos, and suddenly everything crashed down to silence. In the stillness, Victor felt time freeze. His chest tightened as what was left of the barrier between reality and the nightmare shattered. "That's right," Elise whispered, her voice cold and remorseless. The cursed echoes of the long-lost family twisted her fully into something dreadful. "You should remember, I'm the child you neglected, but I won't be forgotten." The truth washed over him like icy water, freezing him in place. Was he losing her all over again? In that moment, a new revelation struck him. What if everything he'd fought against wasn't just external? What if the real monster had always been right beside him? What secrets lay buried deep within the ashes of their family's history? Victor was left to wonder. Would he see the truth before it consumed him whole? Victor felt the churning darkness engulf him completely, pulling him deeper into a pit of despair and confusion. The echoes of Elise's cold laughter reverberated in his mind, twisting the warmth of their shared moments into something grotesque. This isn't real," he shouted, desperation lacing his voice. But as the shadows swirled and flickered around him, he could no longer deny the truth, seeping into his bones. Elise had transformed before his eyes into a version of herself forged in anger and betrayal. "Face it, Dad," Elise said, her eyes narrowing. "You can't hide from what you've built. This is your legacy." "No," he shouted back. "I've tried to mend things. You have to believe me." His heart pounded, loud and frantic, as James's presence flickered near him, wavering like a defeated candle in the storm of rage and chaos. "We must find a way." But then, amid the turmoil, something shifted. The floor beneath their feet rumbled again, a violent tremor echoing. The orb in Elise's hands surged with energy, pulsing as though it had a heartbeat of its own. "It's time to ignite the truth," she yelled, but this time her smile flickered, uncertainty creeping into her gaze. Without warning, the energy exploded outward, engulfing them all in. A blinding light. Victor shielded his eyes, heart racing. The warmth of the flames was replaced by an ice-cold grip that seeped into his skin, freezing him in place. Then everything went dark. Silence washed over him. No fire, no chaos. He stood in what felt like the emptiness between moments, suspended in stillness. And then the shadows began to shift again. From the gloom emerged a single figure, an older man, with familiar features and haunting eyes. Stepping into the light with a grim expression, Victor's breath caught in his throat. Dad? This wasn't the father he remembered, that soft smile and comforting embrace. This was the father who had left him, scared, broken, and unsure. "You must understand, Victor," he said, voice lingering, like smoke in the air. "You are the root of the darkness. It comes from within." "What do you mean?" Victor's voice trembled. You abandoned us. That's where you're wrong." The figure's presence felt commanding, yet sorrowful. "I had to protect you." "Protect me?" Victor's heart ached with disbelief. Behind him, Elise watched, confused, the orb dimming slightly in her grasp. The truth was unraveling, but it only tangled deeper still. "Your ambition created the very fires you stand in. Do you see it? I made decisions to shield you from the consequences of being me. I was wrong to think that would keep you safe." Victor's vision blurred as disbelief rolled over him like a wave. Everything he knew teetered precariously on a cliff. "No, I don't understand," he shouted, clenching his fists. "You left me with nothing." As he spoke, another trembling groan shattered the silence, and the ground began to crack. Shadows flickered like torches in the wind, and suddenly, the truth erupted. His father's presence lighting the path ahead. With a swirling motion, a portal opened, revealing memories long buried. Victor saw himself as a child, his father standing tall beside him. But these weren't just pleasant memories. Flickers of harsh words, moments of neglect, and cold faces intertwined with moments of warmth. "Victor, you have to choose," his father's reflection said. "Your business has always been built on shattered dreams. Change it before it consumes you." But everything cracked anew. "Elise," shouted, her voice piercing through the turmoil. "Dad, please, it's too late." And that's when everything shifted. In a swirl of blinding light, a new figure emerged, a woman, eyes blazing with determination, stepping boldly toward Victor. "No, Elise, you don't have to listen. The truth lies beyond this illusion." "Who are you?" Victor felt his heart race again, confusion clawing at him. Her eyes bore into his, fierce and knowing. "I'm your mother, Victor. I've been watching. The truth will set you free. But first you must break the chains of the past." His world spiraled, everything fracturing. "Mom?" The voice caught in his throat, disbelief and yearning, mixing into an overwhelming tide. The portal expanded, drawing in the energy around them, revealing hidden truths about choices that echoed across time. Victor's heart raced as he realized this was not just a battle against fire. It was a reckoning with his entire life. "Understand," his mother urged, "you must transcend this, or you will perish in the flames you've created." And just like that, The weight of their legacies crashed upon him, sending him spiraling into a dilemma. What was the truth? And could he escape the very legacy of darkness he thought he was confronting? The answer loomed larger than life. Could he face it? Would he dare? Everything he thought he knew beckoned from the precipice, waiting for him to take the first step into the unknown. What would that choice mean for him, for Elise? For all of them? Victor stood at the edge of the abyss, his heart racing. The air around him crackled with tension. Elise's twisted words cut deeper than he had ever imagined. You can't hide from what you've built. This is your legacy. Pain twisted inside him, a palpable knot. Stop it, he urged, his voice almost a whisper, full of disbelief. Stop it. James' voice was a desperate plea. Victor, you know this isn't her. You have to fight. But Elise stepped closer, eyes glimmering with an unsettling light. No, James, this is the real me, finally unleashed. You can't save me from the truth. The world shifted again, shadows dancing wildly as the device in her hands pulsed ominously. Suddenly the ghostly figures surrounding them stirred, their faces melding with the flame's flickering light. Victor gasped as he caught sight of a familiar face forming among the chaos. His late mother, drawn from the depths of the shadows. Her presence felt achingly warm. Victor, she said softly, eyes dull with grief. You have to face what lies within you. No! Get away from her! Victor shouted, hands trembling, as he fought against the fear that squeezed his chest. The shadows distorted as Elise and her device pulsed again, crackling with energy that hummed in the air. Then, without warning, the ground shook violently. A blinding flash erupted from the orb, revealing swirling images, memories he didn't recognize, glimpses of shapes and faces twisting through time and space. What's happening? James yelled, gripping Victor's arm. Hold on! In that moment, the flickering light shattered, leaving only darkness. For a breathless second, silence fell, and Victor felt his heart stall. Then, the shadows writhed tighter, and with a roar, the darkness erupted outward. It struck him, hitting like icy water. The truth was bigger, deeper than he ever guessed. Suddenly he was flooded with clarity. Visions of betrayal and dreams turned to ash. The power behind Elise's words surged, connecting them all like an electrical charge. Everything seemed to ignite in a spectacular display of light. A rush of warmth flooded through him, and for a moment, fear transformed into something else. A fierce, unyielding drive. I won't lose. You, he cried, stepping forward to reach Elise. But just then she gasped, her expression twisting in horror. No, this isn't how it's supposed to happen. The device exploded with a blinding flash, enveloping them both. Victor shielded his eyes and stepped back. When he opened them again, everything had shifted. Elise stood before him, but the twisted version of her had vanished. In its place, he was faced with the girl he had known. Dad? She breathed, her eyes wide with confusion. But at that same moment, the room around them faded. The fire and chaos flickered, replaced by what felt like the world outside. A sun-drenched field, vibrant colors awakening all around them. Where are we? Victor wondered aloud, disbelief lacing his words. But the ground quaked again, not from fear, but from something deeper. A rift opened between them, and out of it spilled a figure that sent a shockwave through Victor's heart. It was another version of himself, a younger self, different but eerily similar, stepping boldly from the chaos, a wild smile across his face. Surprise! Did you really think it would be this easy? The younger Victor taunted, voice filled with a familiar arrogance, echoing back through time. What is this? Victor stammered, stepping back. The younger Victor laughed, eyes glistening with mischief. You've been running from the truth. This is your legacy too. You thought you could bury me, but I'm here to stay. In that moment, Victor felt the ground shift beneath him again. All the memories, the flames, the family turmoil, spiraled into a whirlpool of confusion and pain. What was happening? Who was this new version of him? As the older Victor stood frozen, fear sweeping through him, a shocking realization filled the air. A betrayal he could never have conceived. This younger version, this darker side, could unleash chaos beyond imagination. "I'm going to show you what you've been hiding," the younger Victor sneered. "And you can't escape it." His heart raced as he stared down the twisted reflection of himself, visions of past mistakes swirling in an unforgiving torrent. How could he fight against himself? Would he even survive? The flames flickered in the distance, a chilling reminder of everything yet to come. Victor stood there, the echoes of chaos swirling around him, facing the younger version of himself. Doubt and anger collided within him, fueling a tempest of emotions. "You think you can overshadow me?" he spat, fists clenched. The heat of the flames roared like a beast, surrounding them with a threatening glow. The younger Victor laughed, a hollow sound that made Victor's skin crawl. "You've always ignored the truth, old man. I'm all that you've buried." "I won't be silenced. Enough," Victor yelled, forcing his voice through the haze of confusion. He took a step forward, his heart pounding against his ribs. "You're just a shadow of what I've become. I am more than my mistakes. I can change." With every word, the room shuddered. The device in Elise's hand pulsed with ominous energy, its glow contrasting sharply with the darkness encroaching upon them. "Dad, we have to go." Her voice trembled, tapping into a flicker of hope. A sudden explosion of sound distracted him, a roar transitioning into chaos. The shadows twisted violently around him, as if they had minds of their own. Victor felt his resolve solidify. This ends now. With a swift move, he lunged toward the orb. James shouted in warning, but Victor was past the point of hesitation. Gripping the device, he stared deep into its pulsating light, urging all his hidden regret to finally surface. "I refuse to be bound by your memory," he thundered, the flames licking higher, fueled by his determination. As he focused on the other Victor, their eyes locked, time halting, clarity igniting in his heart. "You're not me." The shadows quaked at his words. "You are the fears I've held onto for too long. You're my past, but you will not define my future." The younger Victor flinched, a flicker of uncertainty sparking. "I am you." And then, crackle, the device exploded with blinding light, engulfing the room around him. It was a wall of energy, morphing the shadows into brilliant colors, shaking off the chains of regret. Victor felt the warmth spread through him, cleansing the darkness as he shouted, "No more!" The figures surrounding them began to unravel, haunted faces dissolving into the brilliant light. "Mom? You came back!" But before anything could finish, a rush of warmth flooded over him as unseen laughter began to pulse in the air, a joyous freedom dancing through the chaos. Elise appeared at his side, glowing with determination. "We're almost free, Dad. Let's finish this together." With a synchronized breath, they approached the heart of the blazing inferno surrounding them. The swirling shadows screamed, battling against the light pouring from the device, struggling against its relentless power. "Come on!" James cheered, his voice rising above the din. "We can't lose now." Victor held Elise's hand tight, their connection anchoring him amidst the chaos. "Together," he cried, launching the device into the heart of the flames and shadows. With a resounding "Om," the light exploded forth, radiating a wave of warmth and resolve that consumed everything. The darkness recoiled, unraveling as the faces from the past dissipated like smoke in the breeze. As the blaze began to calm, Victor felt the pressure lift. The shadows faded into glimmers of light, and warmth spread through the air like a final goodbye. "We did it," Elise shouted, tears shining in her eyes. "Victor, I'm proud of you," James said, voice steady. The warmth of their triumph washed over him, and he grasped the moment, allowing it to anchor in his heart. Yet somewhere within him, he knew that this would always be a turning point, a bridge to the future they would create together, leaving the darkness behind. Victor glanced around, feeling lighter, free at last. They had faced the fire and emerged whole, a family renewed. Elise smiled, real, genuine, her eyes reflecting the light. Let's go home. And in that moment, the flames extinguished and the shadows settled, they stepped forward together, leaving the chaos behind. You have to subscribe right now. Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that are just waiting for you. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your support matters.